Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name's Alison. I'm a local GP. I've been privileged to journey alongside a number of people over the years going through various forms of suffering. However, I'm also going to give a disclaimer, because if anyone thinks I'm actually able to answer this question, then you're going to be disappointed. I don't think anyone can really answer this question, actually. The question of suffering has been a profound difficulty for all human beings throughout the ages, of all religions and none. In ancient times, it was believed that suffering was divine punishment for one's own misdemeanors or those of one's parents. But even then, it was quite obvious that both the innocent and guilty suffer. Pain and joy always seem to come hand in hand. Nowadays, we see very many types of suffering, from physical illness or trauma, from mental health problems, and from emotional problems, especially guilt, remorse, and grief. It seems that to be human is to encounter suffering at some point in our lives. Some people are born with conditions or predisposition to conditions that will go on to cause pain and suffering, both physical and mental. Some people meet with accidents which abruptly change their physical and mental health. Sooner or later, all of us will find that life leads us into a situation that we cannot fix, cannot control, cannot explain, and cannot understand. The Franciscan priest and theologian Richard Rohr says it's at this point that transformation happens. It's only through great love or great suffering that we come to the end of our own resources, and that is when we are uniquely in the hands of God. We are safely held in the loving hands of God, even if we do not fully realize it. But it's hard to hold on to this when we're in the midst of pain, especially if our belief in God is shaky or non-existent at the start. But many people find that suffering is the way through to a deeper way of living. It is regularly surprising how many cancer sufferers feel they only start really living after they receive a terminal diagnosis. When I look at the life of Jesus as recorded in the Bible, he seemed to go around healing people all the time, of their physical ailments, but also of their anxieties, their fears, their guilt and remorse. It seems that the way of love then is to participate in this relieving of pain and suffering. Many doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals feel a sense of vocation in what they do, but all of us can be kind, be caring, and respond to others who are suffering. And it seems to me that the main question of suffering for us is not the obvious one of why, but what will I do about it? How will I respond? At present, we're going through a horrendous pandemic. Each time they report on the news about so many hundreds of people losing their lives each day, I'm reminded that each person is unique and special and loved by their families and friends. I would also say they are unique and special and loved by God. But as well as the horror and grief at times on the intensive care wards, you have the care and attention of the health carers, the mutual support of members of the hospital team, the kindness of neighbours to one another, the setting up of community care groups to help strangers with food, medicine and company. Suffering can bring out the worst in us, yes, but it also brings out the best in us. When my husband was seriously ill with COVID last April, I was hugely supported by so many different people in the community, bringing food, flowers, paracetamol, prayer, friends, colleagues, people in the village, all helping in so many ways. It seems strange because I didn't know whether I would lose him or not, but I did feel that God was somehow with me in the middle of it. I found that the light does indeed shine in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. I just want to share my screen at this point, if I manage it. I want to tell you now about a special little girl. Her name is Vanessa. Vanessa was born with cancer and lived her whole life going through many, many difficult operations, procedures, and treatments. Vanessa was a happy and cheeky girl, despite spending so much of her time feeling ill, so ill in hospital. She loved having her nails painted and loved singing, especially songs from Les Miserables. When she died, aged 9 years old, many people came to her memorial celebration, and even some of the then current cast of Les Mis came and sang some of her favourite songs. Vanessa spread love and joy throughout her family and friends. Looking on, we think her death was a tragedy, and of course it is, especially for her family. Vanessa's father is a friend of mine. He does not believe in God and has actually found comfort in believing that therefore there is no deeper meaning in her death and that he and Vanessa were not abandoned by any God. I can understand this. This is one possible answer to the question we're asking today. But if there is a God, which I do believe, then I see Vanessa's life as meaningful and full of purpose. Her life was shorter, much shorter than we all would have wanted, and it was difficult, but it was valuable and real. Her life had a profound effect not only on her family, but her school friends, the doctors and nurses and other staff at Great Ormond Street, and on to others such as myself, the Les Mis singers, and now to all of you, rippling out, affecting others through time. Illness and suffering exist in this world and have done since it began. Perhaps if we get too stuck on why, we can lose sight of hope, the hope that everything can be used and transformed and that nothing is wasted. Perhaps rather than being abandoned by God in these times, we are in fact loved more deeply than we can imagine, all the way through them. And the question then remains, how will I respond?